Um, Welcome to Coaching Business. Today I want to talk to you about coaching in an age of digitalization, with the focus on assisting within the process of digitalization. Um, Basically, what this video is about is digitalization leading to a feeling of being troubled, a feeling of being lost, a feeling of digitalization getting too fast for you to follow. And what I want to ensure is that coaching within the process of digitalization will help you to find the best way to engage digitally, to engage in digital services and develop some kind of action plan, some kind of roadmap that will benefit both your private as well as your business life. So this video is about helping you um, to become friends with a digitalized world. Um, how you will benefit? Well, I hope to assist you in a way that you will find an optimal way for you to to engage in real and digital life, to feel secure in digital life, to not feel overwhelmed in digital life. Um, I hope to provide you some insights in how to deal with the digital world in other generations, because in a digital marketplace, people meet and people from different generations meet, and it's a way to engage with other generations, sometimes younger, sometimes older generations, without the physical restriction of being at the same place with younger or older people. Um, I will hopefully assist you in developing a way for you so that the digital world will become a factor for your well-being, not a factor for your bad feelings. So many times people think of social media today, of the digital world, as a factor for lack of well-being, because they spend too much time on social media, etc., do not meet with real friends. From my perspective, what is possible, and this is just a question of will, is how can I develop engagement in digital world so that it benefits my long-term well-being. Well, and I will show you how to distinguish. I will show you so that you develop your own understanding how to distinguish between good and bad things digitally. But before we get into contact, let's talk about what digitalization actually means and what it means for your reality. Um, this is based on research, so this is mainly based on what digitalization does and how people perceive it to be and perceive it to have effects on the self. So what are the different main aspects of digitalization? Um, the main aspects are mobile and flexible work, automation, to be always online, means e-learning. Actually, what you do right now is e-learning, some kind of. Is digital communication, so we do not need to sit next to each other face to face to talk, to communicate. It means paperless work. You know, the people who say that reading books is very cool. Yes, you can read books on digital devices. You don't need a physical book anymore. It means working with virtual teams, a twofold, working with virtual teams, so working with people who are not present geographically, and working with teams which are not teams in itself. Well, being digitalized means to be literate when it comes to digital media. Well, I'm pretty literate when it comes to digital media, but as soon as we get into topics like, I don't know, Snapchat, I have no idea what this means. This means that there are probably people who know many things about the digital world, but there are probably people who do not know everything and who do not know how to engage with different platforms which emerge over time. So what I can help you with is to find a way for you to choose the right platforms, the right solutions for you to engage with. It's a sharing economy. I do not own a car. I actually I do not own many things. But I use cars. So I share cars. I do not share a car by myself, but I use cars of people who share them. And cloud computing. So I do not, again, own things. I do not have a selection of DVDs. I have some books, but not DVDs, for example. So what I do is I cloud compute. I store everything in the cloud. I do not need it physically in front of me. So those are the basic aspects on what digitalization means. Let's get into details. When it comes to mobile and flexible work, what does it mean? It means that you work that work and private time are merging. So to work mobile and flexible means, for example, to be on a trip, means, for example, to visit your friends, and in between to work, in between to call, in between the visit to I don't know, to sign off a project or a contract. Well, this means traveling to work remotely on the go, so you don't need to be present. This means that maybe there is a good chance to develop a new concept of a work-life balance, because if your work and your life merge, then you might need a new work-life balance concept, not like the concept of distinguishing work-life, but the concept of integrating work into your life and feeling or understanding work as life. Basically, let's take a metaphor. It's like putting your work into your pocket and taking it with you. So what is this challenge? What is the challenge? Well, basically, people will develop a higher feeling of autonomy, which is basically good because it increases engagement, it increases satisfaction. People will increase or develop a higher feeling of freedom, which is basically good for most people. For some people, I don't know, but it is good. People will have increased potential for family and quality, which might be good or might not be good, because some people do not want to spend time with their family. So many questions, many challenges to be faced to and to decide on. At the other hand, you will have a lower controllability and predictability when it comes from a employer perspective. Maybe from a team perspective, you will have lower controllability too. And of course, lower feeling of safety, because you will not know at some points where you will work the next day, where you will have your safe place, where you will have your desk to sit at to work, whether it will be quiet or not, etc. So we will face such challenges when facing mobile and flexible work. How can I help? Well, coaching assists you in understanding the impact of mobile and flexible work on your own life. It analyzes possible scenarios for you to feel like a fish in the water with mobile and flexible work. And sometimes people need to implement. Sometimes it's not possible because at some jobs physical presence is required. But sometimes planning and implementation of transition is necessary, because you might want to be mobile and flexible, but you don't know how to implement it. What does it mean? Sometimes first you need to talk to your chef. Sometimes first you need to arrange something with your family to be able to work on the go, for example. So this is what coaching will assist in. Next point was automation. What does automation mean? Automation means that repetitive work or issue patterns will be conducted by machines and programs. This, on the other hand, means that some jobs, some necessary work packages will not be part of life anymore for humans. They will be conducted by machines. So human work will be replaced. On the one hand, will probably increase quality. On the other hand, will decrease costs and time for the employer, of course. Downside might be if an employee employee does not conduct the whole process of work packages, he will maybe not understand the whole process of work packages, which means that he will be not the best specialist because he will not understand how at some points a product or a service is conducted. Well, what is the challenge for an employee? First and foremost, anxiety to lose his or her job to automation. The lack of confidence to satisfy market qualification needs. So imagine you might lose your job to automation. So what qualification is needed on the market, and how can you find a new job? How can you develop into a perspective where you feel safe when it comes to the future? Sometimes you need to develop new abilities for yourself. Sometimes you need to develop new job descriptions so that your current abilities will fit into such a new job description. Well, as a good side effect, there might be the possibility to develop into a more meaningful work. So we have such challenges. How can coaching help in such a process? Well, the first one is to understand the chances coming from automation on an individual level. So, of course, this is like a danger for an employee when his work packages will be automated. But on the other hand, I, from my perspective, know that with every danger comes a possibility, a chance, an opportunity. So first step would be to understand what the situation is and what the chances are. And then, of course, analyze possible scenarios on how to improve and plan and implement a transition into a more meaningful working perspective. Next topic, to be always online. What does always online mean? Well, you're reachable all the time. So whoever wants to contact you, he or she can write, and you are lying in your bed. In the past, you had a telephone, and the telephone was in the kitchen, the only one in the house, and you have to stand up. So if somebody was calling you 2 a.m. in the morning, you just slept. What the situation now is that your mobile phone is lying next to you, right next to your left arm in your bed, and if somebody writes you and makes ping, what is happening is that you can read it, so you're reachable all the time. And therefore, the work-life balance topic is more integrated. So you are always reachable by everybody if this everybody wants to reach you. So what this means is that you need to plan your time. At some points you need to make or you might need to make decisions about availability and about working on demand. So if you are required, then you might work. If you are not required, then you might use it as free time, which is not a traditional way of conducting work. It's more a modern way of adjusting to the context. What are the challenges? Well, first of all, I think adapting to a 24/7 availability. Not that you need to be available, but for you to find a balance which fits your reality. To understand what decreasing sleeping time will mean, what decreasing in sleeping quality will mean, and what effects it might have on well-being. To understand what dangers we have when it comes to addiction to online time, what possibilities there are for you to escape the digital world, the being always on. So, for example, planning relaxing times, and of course to being pretty autonomous when it comes to the choice when to being online and not being a victim of the online world, being held as a victim. So how coaching can help you is to understand the impact of being online and reachable 24/7, to evaluate ways to deal with it in a personal manner. So is it okay for you? Are you satisfied with the situation, or do you want to change something? Do you want like offline time, planned offline time, and maybe you need to communicate this to your supervisor, to your family, etc. And of course, at some point you will need to plan new habits, because sometimes we know that something's going wrong, but this what is going wrong is a habit and you don't know how to change it. So sometimes we need to develop new habits. Next topic, e-learning. What does e-learning mean? Well, e-learning generally means that we are using digital media in educational work, to use cloud computing, social network principles for educational processes. It means that you can learn, you can exchange information, that you can test yourself digitally, you can get feedback digitally, which means that you can learn all the time basically. You are not stuck to being present in a university to learn in today's world. It means that, and this equals the decentralization of educational offers. And this is pretty new. Your learning progress is measurable. You can even measure your reading time. And while trying to improve your reading time, what I did is I went to a course in order to improve my reading time, in order to improve the share of information I saved in my head after reading a book, for example. So, and I was able to improve, to measure my progress. So, what is the challenge in the world of e-learning? Well, basically, you might face an overload of very highly diverse offers and information, and the information might, as it is very diverse and there is plenty of it available, might not always be good information, so it might be misleading, so you might not be sure that it is high quality information. You might not be as open-minded to digital media, so people might get into e-learning and develop faster, and you might not be as eager to learn in digital in e-learning on an e-learning platform. So this might be a challenge, and the next challenge would be that e-learning enables self-responsible learning, which on the other hand will not be a good idea for people who need guidance, who need somebody who is taking them with them, who is leading them, who is providing the next steps for them to be able to go the next steps. Well, on the other hand, there is a possibility for you to adapt to individual needs when it comes to learning. So, how can a coach help? How can I help in e-learning? Well, first of all, as always, recognize the chances coming from e-learning for your future. So, let's assume that automation is a danger for your future, and let's assume that e-learning is popping up. Therefore, e-learning seems to be kind of a solution for you, which might help you to develop into a brighter future. Then it might be necessary to analyze the right solutions to gain the highest learning effects, because people are learning in a very different way. Some people are repeating stuff, some people are looking at stuff, some people have to talk like I have to. When I talk, I learn, because talking is thinking and thinking is learning. I develop new thoughts when I talk. Some people just do need to listen to other people. So it depends on you, and we should develop the best strategy with the best e-learning system for you. On the other hand, well, of course, the planning implementation is the last step, so we will help with it. Next topic is the digital communication topic. What does digital communication mean? Digital communication means that we are communicating via multiple communicators, messengers, etc., instead of communicating face to face. I even bought a Amazon Alexa with video, so I think it's called Amazon Echo, for my granny who is 90 years old, and she's even able to, click the green button in order to take my call. So we are talking face to face digitally, me and my granny who is 90 years old. So plenty of new possibilities to communicate. We can communicate in groups, which was not possible like 20 years ago, to communicate in digital teams. by including some people and excluding others. There's no waiting for a response. So imagine like back 100 years back, if you wrote a letter to somebody, a physical letter, you had to wait like months probably to get a response, and you have never known whether the response is coming. Today, you A, see that message was delivered, you B, can see sometimes that message was read, so you know that you can expect an answer, which is kind of we are losing the strength to deal with uncertainty. But dealing with uncertainty is, let's say, a prerequisite for a successful life. So at some point this might be a challenge, and well, we are digitalizing words and emotions. So when you listen to me and when you see me, when you see, for example, if I make such a, it might mean that such a face, it might mean that I have my stomach is hurting, for example. So if you see me, if you interact in real life with me, you will be able to interpret my general condition and what I want to communicate to you. But if we communicate in digital world, it might not be as easy, because sometimes we might misinterpret words which might not be, I don't know, aggressive, but people will read aggressiveness out of it. So we have many challenges. We need to adapt to new digital languages, like shorter words, cut-off words, emoticons, GIFs, etc., abbreviations, etc., memes. So people are communicating by visual, visual, visual things. We have to evaluate digitally transmitted emotions. So to fully understand a communicated message, you need to evaluate the emotion the person is in, but just to evaluate emotions via written words is pretty difficult. We need, we will have by many different communicators have our work interrupted with me, which means that we have shorter communication intervals, shorter discussions, more frequently, which leads to not being able to work on a bigger task, on a concept, for example, for a longer period of time. Because let's face it, in previous times, if you met your chef once in a week, it was the most important situation for you, because you were able to tell him what is going on with you. Today, you can just write him or her, and you can send him messages all the time. And well, this is like one of the most important challenges. You have to coordinate your messaging. So with one of my best friends, we communicate daily, and we communicate via WhatsApp, via Facebook, via SMS, etc., etc. So we have basically at the same time different conversations going on in different chats. So what you have to do is you have to do some coordination work and some, like, what is he or she talking about? What topic is it on? Why is she or he talking about in this channel? How can I help? Well, we have to realize the change in communication style. We have to figure out how we can use digital communication for our own advancement. So this would be like one of the first steps, to understand that it is changing and that you might not be able to escape it if you want to stay in contact with people, if you want to have good relations with people, because many people will get used to the new style. And if you want to understand them, you will need to understand like the specificity of our time. So if you want to develop, you will need to understand. And of course, we will need to develop a strategy for you to deal in the best way with all the messengers. Next topic is the paperless work. Well, again, I'm going to my psychology lectures with my iPad, and I'm writing things down with my iPencil. So for me, a digital paperless work is already there. I'm doing my my pictures for my website on my digital pad. I'm writing down my thoughts when I'm somewhere and I do not want to lose the thought on my digital pad. I'm reading PDFs when it comes to education on my digital pad. So for me, digital media is not as paperless media. Papers are not as necessary as for other people. But again, what does it mean? We use all the digital media for writing, talking, notes, archiving, communicating. This, of course, increases sustainability, increases reduction of environmental costs. At least it seems to reduce costs. It increases our time and it increases our organization. So if I imagine in my first 5 years of studying business administration, I had plenty of folders with paperwork in it. Today I have one iPad with all the folders for all the topics. And I have always everything with me, so I can take my paperwork with me, which enables me to work everywhere I want, which is kind of the thing with mobile work, a prerequisite to mobile work. What does it mean? Well, we need to change year-long habits. For example, writing with a pencil and starting to write with an iPencil. We will not need to have a high complexity of files folders physically, but we will probably need to build a sensible structure for file formats, software, etc. We will be able to better self-organize while we need to better self-organize ourselves. So being in the paperless world, we will need to build structures which will enable us to find information pretty fast. Well, and one thing which my boss is always saying to me, that paperless work might lead to a lack of understanding what you are actually doing, because if somebody sees that you are writing down something, notes for example, they will know that you are writing down notes. But if you are typing on your laptop or writing on your iPad, they might think that you are playing like mobile games within a meeting. So there will be some points at which you will need to be transparent about your behavior. How can I help as a coach? Well, understand the world of paperless work, adapt to the changes in mobility, flexibility, collaboration, organization of documents, etc., etc., and plan and use the right solutions for you. Because again, paperless work, for example, for archiving means you need some solution for it. Paperless work, for example, for writing will mean that you need some solutions for it, and there are different solutions on the market with different solutions providing different aspects or solving different aspects. So my service might help you to develop a good strategy. Virtual teams. What does virtual teams mean? Teams are not organized through in-company hierarchies anymore or in-company physical rules and structures. Teams are organized among different companies, cultures, countries, departments, languages, and places. So there might be people in your teams that you don't even know and understand. So this might be a big challenge. And where we are heading is a meritocracy-based team are meritocracy-based teams, which mean that you choose the right people for the right part of the job of the team, which means that you will be fragmented. You will not be with people whom you trust, for example, or of whom you know that they will do good work, and of whom you know where they sit. So we have plenty of challenges, we will need to adapt to different new hierarchies, which is pretty different because sometimes we have issues with adapting to our own hierarchies. We will be in very dynamic situations, and we will need to adapt to dynamic situations of teams getting together, which means that security will not be as high. You will have insecurities because you will not know what will happen with whom you will be in a team next. And your teams will not be homogeneous in themselves. So you will get in contact with people who might have another understanding of cooperation, of negotiation, who will not be avoiding conflicts, for example, and you might be, for example, a conflict avoiding person. So basically, the circumstances will rapidly change, and this is where I can help. First of all, as always, identify what virtual teams mean for you and whether they are already present, for example, in your business life. And in the second step, we will learn how to move within such virtual teams and how to adapt to such situations, when to behave how, and then, of course, harvest the fruits of such a flexibility and mobility of virtual teams. Well, next topic is literacy. So digital media literacy means that individuals, companies need fundamental understanding of the digital world. Again, I do not know how Snapchat functions, so I am not literate when it comes to Snapchat, but Snapchat is a very important communication channel for younger generations. So for me, it would be beneficial if I understood how they communicate. This means that you need to build digital competence to navigate A, with younger generations, B, with digital natives who do understand the specificities, because you want to be digitally ready to engage, to have a more intense engagement with your environment. And what are the challenges? Well, not everybody's ready, and not everybody has the same knowledge. So sometimes you might lose people who might be very good just because they are illiterate when it comes to different solutions. Or you might lose to other people who are faster than you. Well, if you try to help somebody, and if you try to help that there is a lack of readiness, that there is a lack of quality in somebody's, let's say, work, sometimes it might lead to defense reactions, because, let's be honest, who wants to face negative feedback in the first moment? So defense mechanisms will be a possible reaction. So this is always the challenge, to deal with defense mechanisms. And we have to navigate digitally when it comes to our choice of solutions, which we will be willing to learn and to engage with. What is necessary here, and how can I help as a coach? Basically, you need to understand your crucial capabilities when it comes to navigating in digital world. You will need to develop a strategy on how to incorporate digital capabilities, because at some points, again, for me, in most cases, when engaging with digital things, is the challenge is not the new solution. The challenge is my willingness, because I have a general understanding of getting through applications, getting through solutions. So I do not have this defense mechanism like, well, stop with this application or stop with this solution. I just know how to deal with them, to understand them over time. But sometimes with me, it's my willingness. So we will need to work probably on both, on your willingness as well as your capability to understand solutions. And of course, again, develop an implementation plan and implement it. And let's be honest, evaluate whether implementation was a success or not. Next step, sharing economy. I do not own a car. So you are consuming without owning. Sharing or trading goods will be a prerequisite for using them, not owning. And basically, you will be able to share everything. You can already share entertainment, media, consumer goods, transportation, information. Well, I'm sharing information right now with you on a pro bono basis. What is the channel? Well, you need to have a kind of trade-off between owning property and experiencing more and more goods. So with not owning or owning less things, you will be able to consume more and more things. Well, not owning might lead to not saving stuff up for the future. So this might be a challenge for you, not saving. And of course, sharing means a human to machine interaction. So you might need to interact more and more with machines. How I can help you with the sharing economy and using the sharing economy for your own benefits? Well, I will help you to find a suitable sharing economy solution for you, and the branches which might fit you. So for example, if you have a car and you do not want to share it, sharing economy for vehicles is not the best idea. But if you want to have short trips with a e-bike, for example, to the next store, sometimes taking the e-bike, the sharing e-bike, and not your vehicle, not your car, might be a good idea, might be cost saving, and might even save the environment. So it might help in economic and emotional development for yourself and for the whole environment. But at the end, the question is to find a balanced way. So I will assist you in finding a balanced way and using the sharing economy for your benefits in areas which might benefit you. The last point is cloud computing. Cloud computing is kind of having an infrastructure and ecosystem for sharing information online. And this means that all the information you will need is available whenever you want it to be available, which is kind of a prerequisite for mobile and flexible work. So there will be no time and place restrictions, so you will have more time to work more effectively. Usage behaviors will therefore develop new usage behaviors because you will be more effective, but you will still need the timeouts while being effective. So in the past, you would need to go to the next library to access an important book about law in order to solve your case. Today, you will need to access a website with the book in order to read the passage, and you will be able to continue working. But if you will work for 8 hours straight, you will need time out. So you will need to develop new habits in order to deal with the new situation. You will have multiple touch points at multiple points with such solutions, and you will need to organize such solutions, because with the mass of information being available, not everything will have highest quality, and you will need to know and understand when to access which information and evaluate the quality of such information. Basically, sharing information, being able to share such information, and this is a prerequisite for collaborative working, working with others live. So you will be able to write a document while others will be able to change content of the document, will increase pro-social behavior and will increase the willingness to collaboratively work together. So how can I help as a coach? Basically, we'll need to evaluate market solutions for you. So what is available for you, and what might help your needs. On the other hand, what might be an overreach in your case. Either it is private context, so are there private solutions, maybe for free, or a business context. So do you have something already in place when it comes to cloud computing? Do we need to change it? Do we need to add something in order, for example, to collaboratively work on stuff and not only save stuff? Basically, as always, we need to create a strategic approach, and at the end, we need to implement it in a reasonable and effective way, and evaluate whether we manage to implement it. Thank you. This was a pretty long video. Thank you for listening. Next time, I will go the exact other way. I will not talk about what challenges that digitalization might have for you, and how I can assist you, support you in an age of digitalization. But I will talk about coaching digital natives. So which challenges which challenges digital natives do face, who are already adapted to the digital world. Again, thank you for listening. Have a nice day, and please comment, write, subscribe, like, share whatever content you find on the internet of coaching business. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.